trying to figure out if this was what everything that I stated before. Like, was this legitimate? Was she seriously interested in me? Was she at the end of her relationship with John? And during that, there was touch on that topic, and I became to realize, it was my understanding at that point that this incident took place in Aruba on New Year's Eve, based off the text messages and the conversation at my residence.
This was something that she brought up not only in the text communications with you, but in person in communication with you as well.
Yes, I mean, outside of being over there for the game, there was only one time that the defendant and I ever interacted on a one-on-one basis.
If I could direct your attention to the next page, 41, and ask you to read from that.
So I'm in the blue bubbles, and I said, "Did they bang?" ? The defendant responded, "Does that matter?" ? I said, "Sorry, I was just asking. I was just trying to figure shit out." Defendant responded, "It doesn't really matter." I said, "Okay, I won't ask again." Defendant said, "I don't care," with a smiley face. It doesn't matter. I responded back, "Okay, hear you loud and clear, Karen." Defendant responded, "Okay." I responded, "Why are you getting your thing all twisted up over simple questions?" And then I typed thong. Defendant responded, "I'm not. I am?" ? I responded, "You're kind of getting defensive." Defendant responded, "Not at all," with an exclamation point.
Thank you, sir. If I could direct your attention to page 46. Ask you to read from that.
Defendant is in gray. She said, "We did kiss earlier, no," with an exclamation point. I responded in blue bubble, "I think you initiated that, no?" ? Defendant said, "Yup. Do I owe you an apology?" ? I said, "OMG, no. Why are you being sensitive?" Defendant responded, "I'm not." I responded, "Kinda." There's a P and a FFT, never, responded by the defendant. "What do you want from me?" ? I responded, "What's on the table?" ? Defendant said, "What do you want ideally?" ? I responded, "The real deal." Defendant responded, "It doesn't exist."
Thank you, sir. I could direct your attention to page 57, sir, and ask you to read from that.
It starts off in blue. I said, "I can go to any base, but usually Hanscom and Bedford are down to the Cape." Defendant responded, "Which base down the Cape? Which branch?" I said, "Army's Army." Defendant said, "I'm not abnormally sensitive." I responded, "Joint Base Cape Cod." "I won't be so hard on you." Defendant responded, "OMG, you're not. You called me trouble. That makes me sound bad." I responded, "I was just playing with you." Defendant responded, "You weren't, but that's okay." I responded, "Stop being sensitive, please." Defendant responded, "I'm not."
Now, sir, in reference, in that page of text communications, you made reference to a base down the Cape, is that right?
Yes.
And where is that in relation to where you live in Barnstable County?
So I can utilize one of the gates to get onto the base. I can get fuel. I can shop. I then can hit the Bourne Bridge, and I would use that as a cut through at the time when I was splitting my time between two different properties.
Is there also like a duty-free shop there?
There is, yes.
And at some point throughout the course of the text communications, did you offer to pick something up for the defendant from that shop?
I believe so.
If I could direct your attention to page 60. and ask you to read from that, sir.
Defendant said, I don't know, question mark. It's an old colonial. It has a lot of bedrooms with kind of an emoji. I responded, more than you clearly need. Are you moving to Canton, question mark. Defendant said, I know, seriously. Some rooms I only go into dust. Not anytime soon. I'm there most of the time, but sometimes it's a lot. I responded, a lot, why, question mark. Defendant respond. I then said, do you even know what you want, question mark, or who, question mark. Defendant responded, because I went from being solo to trying to give attention to kids who aren't mine, and I never wanted kids. I responded, I thought you were in this happy relationship. Defendant responded, everyone is happy at the hillside.
If I could direct your attention to the next page, 61, and ask you to read from that.
So it starts off with the defendant. It said, everyone is happy at the hillside, exclamation point. I responded, oh God, you avoid things. Defendant responded, it's just very, very complicated, dynamic with the four of us. He isn't cut out for what he's doing, and the kids present constant issues. I responded, I think he believes he is doing the right thing. Defendant responded, well, of course he is, but his heart isn't in it. It's only because he was very, very close to his sister. I responded back, I know how you feel, kinda. I was married, and when I met her, she had a 2.5-year-old. I went from being single to being a dad. It's hard. Then I said, I'm divorced since 2017 and have no kids.
If I could ask you to turn to the next page, 62, and ask you to read from that, sir.
I said, I'm divorced since 2017 and I have no kids. Defendant responded, I try very hard, but they are very spoiled and they're not my family. My parents keep telling me I'd feel differently if they were mine or my own sisters. Then I told you he got drunk and sloppy on NYE while we were away, and that has really affected me. I responded, what did he exactly do, question mark. Defendant responded, I never got married, and now somehow I'm arguing someone about raising kids with an emoji. I responded, why don't you tell me, question mark. Defendant responded, he was a puddle all day and then disappeared. Then I found him all over our friend's sister in the lobby of our hotel, and she's gross, which I think may actually be worse, not sure. I responded, oh God, did they bang?
And ask you to turn to the next page, sir, page 63, if you could read from that.
I'm in the blue. I said, did they bang, question mark. Defendant said, so I was the kids celebrating New Year's, I think it's without him, which shouldn't be my role. No, I doubt it. He was a mess. I said, was it the first time with her, or do you think there were others? Defendant responded, I don't really think there were others. I'm with him all the time. He never seems to want to go anywhere, without me. But honestly, the issues with the kids bother me more than him actually cheating. They are constant, and it feels like a lose-lose. I responded, you clearly have a lot of feelings swirling inside you. Defendant responded, yeah, it's very complicated. Sorry for the rant. I responded, or began to respond, you can vent, babe.
If I could turn your attention to the next page, 64, ask you to read from that, sir.
Defendant said, basically, I just feel like I spread myself too thin and sometimes it's thankless. I responded, Defendant responded, you probably felt that way too. I responded, I did at times. It was one, not two, thankfully. Defendant responded, want to grab a drink, question mark. I responded, if you gave me some notice, I could have. Defendant responded, you in capital letters said you were adaptable. I responded, I am, but I have my work truck with me and not my personal. Do you get angry when you don't get your way? Defendant responded, that sounds like an excuse. I rarely get my way.
Now, as far as her invitation, is that something that occurred on one time or more than one time?
I believe it was more than one time.
And at any point in time, other than the two you've already recounted, as far as going over to Mr. O'Keefe's house for the football game, or the defendant stopping by your apartment in West Roxbury, were there any other occasions you went out over the defendant's house or out with the defendant by yourself?
No, never.
And sir, if I could direct your attention to page 74. I'll ask you to read from that.
Defendant said, "Are you single?" ? I responded, "Yes." Defendant said, "I don't think it's out of left field. Wasn't I already begging you to come over last Saturday? ? I responded, "You getting my number from Melissa and reaching out to me? ? Defendant said, "And on vacay and probably a few other occasions." I responded, "You didn't," it should say, "you didn't really beg." Defendant said, "I asked at least twice. How do people usually reach out to each other? ? I responded, "Why would I have thought you had any interest in me? ? Usually do it when they do live with, usually do it when they do live with someone." And then I said, "Do not do it." Defendant responded, "Maybe, maybe not."
Thank you, sir. If I could direct you to page 77. And ask you to read from that, sir.
I said, "I could go on, but I do not want to pump," it should say, "your shit up too much." Defendant responded, "Thanks for saying that, but low comps at the hillside." I responded, "You know how to ruin something nice. I frequent other places." The defendant responded, "John has showed me about 5 times the Ring video of me walking you out on Saturday, and my voice and my accent are killing me softly," with an emoji of somebody throwing up. I responded, "What?" Defendant responded, "Yeah, he has cameras everywhere, you cops," with another emoji. I responded, "Jesus." Defendant said, "He's like Christ. Are you guys hooking up? ? And I said, "OMG, great."
If I could turn your attention to the next page, 78, sir.
I responded, "I don't need drama, dude." Defendant said, "No, it's fine." I responded, "Seriously?" Defendant said, "I'm serious," with an exclamation point. I said, "You legit planted one on me." Defendant responded, "I know where the cameras are anyway, duh." And then it was OMG Bruins with an emoji after that. I responded, "So your slick move isn't on there?" with some question marks. Defendant responded, "Course not." I responded, "Oh my God." And then I said, "I almost," an emoji with somebody throwing up. Defendant responded, "It was a peck anyway. I kissed Kerry and gay Jeff too." I responded, "Yeah, weak. I agree."
Now, as far as cameras at Mr. O'Keefe's house, is that something that you were aware was there prior to that conversation with the defendant?
No, not that I recall.
If I could turn your attention to the next page, 79. I ask you to read from that, sir.
Defendant said, "LOL, funny." I responded, "So now he is jealous of me? ? Defendant said, "No," with an exclamation. I told you, he likes you a lot. I said, "Which makes this worse? ? Defendant said, "You said or did something at the bar last week," and he goes, "I like Brian more and more." I responded, "I think he's a good dude too." Defendant responded, "Yeah, he is." I responded, "Funny. What's your end game? What do you want from me? You will just confuse it should say the shit out of yourself, because I'm a lot of fun."
Now, sir, the he that you're referring to in those text communications, who was that, just for clarity?
John O'Keefe.
And if I could direct your attention to page 84. And ask you to read from that page, sir.
I said, it was fun. Defendant said, I've complimented you today too, with a couple of exclamation points and then some type of emoji. I said, and kicked my nuts in. Defendant said, OMG, how? I responded, if I had more notice, I would have grabbed a drink somewhere, so I'm all set with that's, and then I said, in quotations, that's fine, but I am not asking again. Defendant said, well, it was 7 p.m. and I'm super cool. So right now I'm asking again with some type of I think it's a smiley face. I responded, coming to your house would have been bad for the both of us. For starters, you wouldn't have wanted me to leave. The defendant responded, now equals not. That sounds good. I responded, that's trouble. Defendant said, why, question mark.
And if I could direct your attention to page 90. Ask you to read from that, sir.
9-0.
90, yes.
The defendant said, no, I'm busting your chops. It's okay. I responded, no, you are sensitive. Nice try. You don't think if I came over for a drink, we would have gotten carried away. Defendant said, you in capital letters said you were adaptable and tons of fun. I took that as an invite for an invite. And I responded, oh, okay. Defendant responded, I'm 42. I know what happens when you invite someone over for a drink. I responded, you're the master of avoidance, so you think I would just give it up. Defendant responded, I've been a lot in my life. I have a little bit of cop DM mindset, and then said, been through.
And if I could direct you to the next page, 91, sir.
Defendant said, what am I avoiding, question mark. I'm not afraid to be direct. I responded, some of my questions. Defendant responded, okay, which? Ask again. I said, nope, tricks are for kids. Defendant responded, I'm pretty sure we would have hooked up. I responded, okay. Defendant said, I can't say that, question mark. I said, of course you can. Defendant said, did I miss any other questions, sir, question mark. Probably, are you having a drink right now, question mark. Defendant said, yeah, on my second. I said, show me what you got.
And if I could direct your attention to page 99. And ask you to read from that, sir.
Defendant said, none of that is true, exclamation point. I'm not talking to other guys, and I have issues with John, and things are far from perfect. You just happen to know about him, BC, I guess, because we all hang out at the same bar. I'm sure you talk to other girls. That's what single people do. I'm not married, neither are you, neither is John. I responded, was that your attempt at a lecture or deductive reasoning, question mark? What do you want from me, question mark? Defendant said, that's just how I think / feel. You don't need to approve. I've already answered that last question a couple of times, I think. I responded, I'm not judging you, never have, never will. Defendant responded, you shouldn't. I don't know what your private life is about, nor is it my business.
Thank you, sir. If I could now direct you to page 102 and ask you to read from that.
Defendant said, my only, I'm assuming, point is that there's a difference between being married to someone and dating them, and we have no intention of ever getting married. The point of dating is not to get tied down if you're not confident you should be. in my mind anyway. The first two, but I don't care too much about the other girl. I responded, okay, so he is cool with you dating other people, ? Defendant responded, and I'm not happy per se, just realistic that there's cracks and it's far from perfect. I doubt it. If he's seeing someone else, I wouldn't want to know either way. He probably feels the same way. And you probably feel that way about whoever you hook up with. I think that's normal. I responded, okay. Defendant said, you don't agree with me? ? If
I could direct your attention to page 107. Ask you to read from that, sir.
Defendant said, at a bar? ? I responded, I wasn't suggesting anytime soon. I know you're with your friend. I meant my house. Probably after 8. Defendant said, probably after 8. I responded, okay, if you don't wanna, that's fine, no pressure. Defendant responded, I will a drink. Looks like I tabbed the bubble with a ? I then said, what do you drink? ? Are you out now? ? Defendant responded, sorry, I'll drink whiskey if that's what you're having. I responded, haha, send me a pic of you two.
Now, you had testified earlier about some occasion prior to the 28th when the defendant had come over your house in West Roxbury, correct?
Yes.
This page that you just read, as well as some of the successive pages after that, is that sort of arranging for that to occur after she goes out or leaves from a friend out in Boston?
I believe she was out with a friend that night in Boston, a female friend, yes.
And that evening when she came over your house, about how long was she there?
Not long.
And so what happened when she arrived, or what, if anything, did the two of you talk about?
It was kind of more of this. It was a kind of a, wasn't an interrogation. It was a face-to-face version of trying to suss out and vet, like, what is this all about? Again, I mean, you know, I'm not proud of these text messages. It is what it is. I'll take responsibility for them. But, you know, John was a friend at the same time, and I certainly wasn't, if they were at the end of the relationship, they were at the end of their relationship, but I wasn't going to have somebody utilize me and weaponize me against somebody that I liked. And it was just a weird experience. It was, I don't even think either one of us finished a drink. It was, like I said, it was this type of like, what is this all about? And then she left. I think I might have asked her to text me when she got in, so I knew she got home.
Now, that evening or at any other point, in your friendship or your relationship, whatever, however you want to term it, was there any other sort of intimate contact beyond what you described occurring as she walked you out that night and you were over at Mr. O'Keefe's house for the Patriots?
Are you asking if she ever kissed me again?
I'm asking if there was any kissing, any sexual relationship, anything at all between yourself and the defendant.
Absolutely not. In referring to at my residence when she stopped by, it was just, I was very uncomfortable, and it was just an uncomfortable situation. Just a weird vibe. That's the best I can describe it.
And lastly, sir, lastly as it applies to this, turning your attention to the last page, number 118. And there's a couple different dates from the middle to the bottom of the page. Is that correct?
There is.
If I could ask you to start reading from, excuse me, where it says Sunday, January 23rd, 9:40 p.m.
Defendant, so Sunday, January 23rd at 9:40 p.m., defendant texted me, phone works, and then an emoji with arrows going like both ways. And I responded, thought you were all set, ? Defendant said, with talking, ? No. I said, are you sure? And she didn't respond, and I believe I said, that was it for that, the 23rd. I'm sorry.
So then the next date that any text communication was sent between the two of you would have been Friday, 11:32 p.m. Is that correct?
That's correct. That would have been when we were at the waterfall.
And again, what does the text say there?
Well,
That's from you to her. Is that correct?
yes,
And then the next text communication is the following day, or Saturday, the 29th at 11:54 a.m. Is that correct?
yes.
And who is speaking in that communication, and what is said?
That is the defendant, and the defendant said John died.
And did you respond to that at all?
No,
And did you have any other communication with Ms. Reed following receiving that text message on January 29th?
no, I have not.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Gilman, you can take it. Sir, if I could, a couple more questions for you, taking you back on the early morning of January 29th, when you had come from Waterfall to Fairview, and then you were leaving from Fairview, if I could turn that sort of portion into your mind. When you're pulling away from the residence, the period of time that you were talking about as far as the plow being down and scraping a little bit on the ground, do you recall that?
I do.
About how much distance are we talking about with respect to that?
Distance less than a foot, I would say. I mean, it's real quick. I heard it.
And then as far as when you familiar with an area in the front of Mr. Albert's property at 34 Fairview where there is a flagpole and a fire hydrant?
I do know where that is. Yes.
And as you drove by the house that evening, where were you in relation to that part of the yard?
When I drove away,
Yes.
well, I might have been I was in the street. I pulled away, so that area would be on my passenger side.
And so what I'm asking, sir, is as you pulled away, did you pull away alongside the curb? Did you pull to the middle of the street? Or where did you direct the vehicle to go as you were pulling away?
Like any other time, I pulled away from the curb, and that's kind of it's a one-lane street, so to speak, and nobody was coming towards me, so just pulled out into the street, drove away.
If I may have a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
I have no further questions of this witness, Your Honor.
I'll see you for 1 minute over here at sidebar before we begin. Jurors, feel free to stand up and stretch.